Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first edition of Show Me the Money Line. That's right, Show Me the Money Line, guys. This is about betting and betting only because it's something that we love to do here. We got Mr. Jack Neary up there in the corner. Mr. Jack, or better known as Shot of Jack. For those of you on Twitter, known he's been there a long time, shooting out his picks. At the bottom, we got Mr. Lockstar Picks, and I know there's a bunch of you out there who follow him. When he puts down his picks, we all make some money. And yes, Mr. Lockstar, I have made a couple of dollars following your things. So just want to let you know that too. So that's who we got going right now though, guys. Of course, you could bet on anything. We know that. You can bet on anything and everything. But right now, it's NBA. The NBA playoffs are kicking in. We got the play-in games that have been going on, and they've been okay. I don't know about how you guys feel, but they've been all right. I mean, there's been nothing spectacular yet. Trey did his thing, but so we're going to get into that to start off. But first, Mr. Lockstar, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell me how you got into betting.
Well, I've always just been into sports in general my whole life, and I've just known people that have been into betting, and just after talking to them and just kind of keeping an eye on how things have been going, keeping mental notes throughout the years, I kind of just said, you know what, just going to try doing it. And then ever since, might as well sharing.
Yeah, you get hooked, don't you? Have you gotten that one big hit yet?
Oh, there's been some good parlay hits.
Oh, I love them parlays. You can't beat those.
Can't.
No. Mr. Jack, known you for a while now. Tell everybody how you got into betting, man.
All right, so I laid my first bet down when I was 11 years old. I loved watching sports, and my dad loved going to his favorite bar, and it was just kind of, I guess, destiny. He came home the one night and he had a card in his hand. I go, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm picking teams. I'm picking. You had to hit 4 teams on those cards, right? Remember those?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, like, I don't know what you're doing, but that team is not covering that. That team is not covering that. And that guy's got an injured quarterback. And he said, "Fine, you pick them and I'll turn them in." I go, "All right." So we won $100 on that. And he was bringing me home my own cards every week. And sometimes I'd hit, sometimes I wouldn't, but I'd be 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5 or whatever. But yeah, since I was 11, I was on lines.
Man, that's nice. But see, that's what we bring in here is that experience and that love for the betting, which means when you love it, you are into it. That means you can trust what we're saying. Plus, everything we do is out there for you to see. So it's not like we say the Hawks are going to win, and then when the other team wins, we go, "Oh no, we said it was Cleveland all along." We said our picks are out there for everybody to see. They always are. Mr. Lockstar is always putting his out. Jack is always putting his out. So everything's out there for you to see. But so that's that, and I'm glad that you guys are with me, man. And I'm glad that we get this started here. We got big things coming in this whole thing. There are some bigger guys out there in this ocean, and they want to come and swim with us and come on our show too and tell us some more about betting. So we're going to do a lot of that coming up. For now, let's get our stuff going and let's hit these games. And let's start with that Hawks-Cavs game. All right. So I don't know what you guys use. Lockstar, you got a particular site you use? Me and Jack use Bovada. How do you say that?
Bovada, yeah. We use Bovada.
Yeah, Bovada. Is there one you use?
I use a few apps. I use just the basic, just for stats. I use basic the score.
Who do you bet with though? Who do you lay your bets with?
DraftKings. Definitely.
DraftKings? Lucky guy in one of those states, aren't you? All right, I got you.
Love it.
All right, so they're different though. The line's usually different. Usually stays within a point or so, no matter where you're looking at, half point, whatever. So I'm going to shoot out what I have, and if it's a little different, then we'll vary from there. But what I got is the Hawks giving 2.5 to the Cavs, and the money line is minus 145 for the Hawks, and we got, what is that, plus 120 something for the Cavs. Now, that varies, I understand, and I don't know how you guys like to do yours. Locke, tell us what you think of those odds, and then tell me, do you like to play the money line? Do you like to use the point spread? Which way do you usually go?
I stick to spreads. Money line, if it's a slight underdog, probably sticking within like +4. And if I really like that dog, I'll send it with the money line. But if anything, I'll go just with the spread.
Gotcha.
With certain teams, I tend to focus on their trends if they're heavy on the spread or over under, and try to keep that recent. So looking at this Hawks Cavs, I like playoff home games are huge, and the Cavs being able to host it in Cleveland, I think it's a city that's pretty passionate about their sports teams, and they're going to come ready to make some noise against Trae Young. Even though he's going to show up no matter what, probably guaranteed at 30. The Hawks have struggled on the road all season. They're 16-25 this season on the road. And then against the Eastern Conference specifically, they're 9-17 straight up. So just the inconsistency between that home and away Hawks team with banged up John Collins. I see Mobley and Darius Garland having another pretty good outing again. Mobley's been consistent with his production all season, contender for Rookie of the Year. Hopefully he gets it and gets another play and win.
You know what's interesting is I like how you said you go by the trends and that you're looking at those kind of things, because on the opposite side here is Jack, who Jack really don't like those trends. Tell me, Jack, tell me how you get into that.
So here's the way I look at it. These teams just played a couple weeks ago, and I know everybody just played a couple weeks ago. All right. But the line was 7.5. And it was like Lockstar said, the Hawks were at home. And and a lot of bettors out there believed that Cleveland was fair value at 7.5. I didn't think so. I just, like you said, the Hawks are fantastic at home. They blow everybody out. I mean, I don't know what it is with the baskets there. That's all. But I don't know. I don't know what's different in those baskets. It's not the players. It's not Trae Young. It's not home cooking. But they shoot the lights out at home. And my whole thought is that Cleveland was missing, I believe, 2 players. I think they were missing Kevin Love and Garland in that game. And I don't think that they make a 5.5-point difference. I think it is being in Cleveland. I think that is your huge difference. By the way, the line, Atlanta beat them by 20. Didn't they just beat another team by like 25 the other night? Shouldn't the line be, Lockstar? Shouldn't it be like 9.5? Really?
For Atlanta?
Yeah, it should be minus. They should be minus 9.5. They're smoking everybody. Home, away. It should be, or it should, fair value should be 7.5. It should be 7.5 because it was 7.5 the last time. And Garland and Kevin Love on the back end of his career doesn't make that much of a difference to me. It doesn't make 2 baskets different, 3 baskets difference. So to me, I think it's a bogus line. And the more and more I think and look at, the over-under is 223. That's not an Atlanta game. An Atlanta game is what, 239, right? Up and down the court. This is a Cleveland game. This is a game where Cleveland's going to control the clock. By the way, they just covered against Brooklyn, and getting smoked the whole game. They were 40-20 in the first quarter, came back and they covered. So for me, I think Cleveland wins this game. I think they're more battle tested. I think they're a tougher team. Trae Young probably goes for 40. Who else you got? Because Bogdanovich rolled his ankle the other night. Didn't look great at the end of the game, right? You got Herter. Is he gonna drop 25, 30? Can he carry the team at moments? He can't. John Collins is out of the game. I think you take Cleveland, and I bet the way I look at things is kind of how Lockstar does. Okay, sometimes I like money line. Sometimes I like the spreads. But I always look for best value when I'm betting. Okay, best and fair value is where you're looking. And I think the fair value here is take Cleveland on the money line, because the 2.5, what does it matter? It's one shot.
Right. So go ahead.
Into the conversation. Head-to-head, Cleveland, Atlanta, the home teams won 8 out of the last 10 matchups, tracking all the way to 2020. Under, not so favorable as of recent, but definitely due, given the fact that Cleveland will be controlling the pace and tempo throughout this matchup.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. I actually believe that this is a Cleveland game.
Both of you. I get where both of you are saying, and I agree almost to the point where this. Do you not think that when Trae Young goes out there, because he knows what this is about, we saw him last year in the playoffs light up. He's already started off that way again. I expect him to go out there and do, like you said, get 30 plus, right? So do you not think when he's doing that Garland's going to try to match that? And that'll make that pace go faster anyway, because he's going to try to match that. I mean, when you get into that whole me against you thing, you know what I'm saying?
I think Garland's much more physical. And I think if he's smart, he can. I would put Trae Young in the post every play. That's what I would do, because it's going to wear him out for 3-pointers. I actually think, the over-under, it says 223. Like 223 for an over-under in this game is kind of no man's land. I actually believe it should be around 219. And I do believe it plays Cleveland's way. Atlanta's blowing out everybody, and all of a sudden the line's only 2.5. I mean, what is that? That was almost like a couple weeks ago when Milwaukee and Chicago hasn't been playing well, right? Chicago hasn't been playing well at all. And Milwaukee was only giving them 5.5. I don't care if they were playing on planet Jupiter. They were playing at the United Center, and Milwaukee absolutely ran them out of the building. I just think there's some lines that aren't fair value. And for me, the 2.5 doesn't matter. I think take the Cavs. I think they're going to be physical. I think that, Charlotte doesn't really have a center to match up against Clint Capella. I think the Cavs are super physical. Maybe Kevin Love matters a little bit in this game. By the way, playoff experience, right? As long as we're talking about playoff experience, Kevin Love's been in a couple big ones. For me, it's Cleveland, and take him on the money lines, because the 2.5 doesn't matter. What's the 2.5 going to get you? Minus 110?
So Locke, and you're with him, right? You're going with Cleveland on the money line?
Yeah, definitely. I look just straight up matchups. You got a banged up John Collins. You got a banged up Lou Williams. You got a banged up Bogdanovich. You don't have that many scores past Trae Young and Kevin Huerter, and maybe you got Gallinari if he gets hot. But Capella really needs to show up. And again, it's Evan Mobley, and hopefully Lauri Markkanen makes some threes. I know he's been shooting them frequently as of late, averaging around 5 a game.
Right.
Coming off a poor shooting performance 1 for 4. Trade for Field.
Gallinari hasn't been hot since Europe.
Man, he used to be an 18-point-a-game guy, though. He'd give you that every game, and you were solidly knowing that,
He did, but somebody slapped him in an alleyway, and he hasn't scored over 15 cents. I don't know if that happens, but somebody said you better not be messing up lines for the Irishman.
In these one-and-done situations, you don't know who can choke and who can show up. And bets on both sides. Anything can really happen down the stretch. If someone gets cold, someone gets hot. But I'm still with the depth Cleveland has against Atlanta right now. I'm taking Cleveland money line.
Okay, so you guys are saying that I had a prop for you, and it was Trae Young with 3 3-pointers and an Atlanta win. That was going up at plus 129. So I thought that was an easy 129. But you both are saying Cleveland wins, so that kind of blows that one, right?
No. The easy part of it is here's what you're going to want. So the easy part of it is the Trae Young threes. And then the other part of it sucks you in so you get some value at plus 129. And at the end of the day, you're going to need that water bottle. Guys, I always tell you, keep an empty water bottle right next to you when you're gambling and you're watching the TV, so you have something to throw at it. You don't want to ruin that thing, but you do want to throw it.
Don't want to break it, right?
Right. You want to throw something at the TV, right? You get a bad call or something, right? You end up like Bridges the other night.
All right. So I'm going to go with the Hawks though myself. So I'm taking the Hawks on the money line. But so that's that. Anybody got a prop for that game in, since mine got blown out of the water there with the Atlanta not winning there? So
I mean, you take that what I don't know what it
I'm
is.
Gonna go. I'm still putting it on there. I already have for that the threes and the 30 points, the 3 threes, and Atlanta win. So you got any more? Anybody got a prop for that game? No?
I don't have it. I like Trae Young over anything. So whatever his points is, take us over.
35 right now he's at. So
done. Yeah. It'll probably go off at 32.5, and you'll think that's too much. and he'll have 18 by halftime and headed to 36 by the fourth quarter. I'm just saying, like they're gonna let him score. But at the end of the day, I like smart player. Garland's out of what? Vanderbilt?
Vandy.
Is he out of
Vandy? I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember where he came from. But we got the one more game to see who gets into that 8th spot, and that's the Pelicans and the Clippers. Now, to me, the Clippers are always going to be the Clippers, and when they get to the playoffs, I just don't trust them to do anything ever. But and I happen to really like this Pelican teams. But we got the Pelicans going off at +4, and the plus 140, 148, 146 for the money line, and the over and under at 215. How do you see this one going down, Jack?
Everybody watched that game last night. I watched the Pelicans. I made money on the Pelicans because I don't believe that San Antonio has anybody that can just take over a game. And they proved it. The Pelicans have 2 of them. And when Brandon Ingram got hot early, I thought the game was over because McCollum's going to find his way. The difference in the next game, though, is that I believe Paul George is going to play for the Clippers. And Terrence Mann's a really good defender. And how's Brandon Ingram going to react to those guys guarding him? I don't think Brandon Ingram's going to have a good game. I think when Paul George gets on somebody or a Terrence Mann, a good defender, gets on somebody, they lock them down. And now you just have McCollum. And now can McCollum just take over a game by himself? Yeah, he can. But I'm not worried about the 4 points laying it. I'll take the Clippers at home. That's my thoughts. It's a low over under 215.5. Going to be defensive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Locke.
I mean, I agree. It was a tough loss against Minnesota that Los Angeles had to go through, blowing that 10-point lead in the fourth, something like that. You just have to finish that type of game, but I mean, good for Minnesota. They have a good team. Hopefully, D'Angelo Russell, Karl-Anthony Towns can be consistent throughout the playoffs. I think Anthony Edwards is going to have a great playoffs. He's the future of the NBA, in my opinion. Playoff P. I love Paul George. I'm just a Paul George stan. I can't.
Are you?
I am. Ever since he dunked on LeBron in Indiana, that was nice. I just respected that ever since.
My thing is that Paul George is not necessarily an alpha, but he is an alpha compared to Brandon Ingram.
1,000%.
Ingram was an alpha the other night, but he played a college basketball team. He had nobody guarding him. And when he has nobody guarding him, he rises up and destroys you. But now he's got Paul George to contend with, or even Terrence Mann. Either one of them. Terrence Mann is tough. I mean, he's a poor man's Kawhi Leonard. He's just really strong, though. I mean, that last name is perfect for him. and I just kind of believe that at the end of the day, 4 points to lay against the Pelicans. And again, the Pelicans, to fair value, I think the Pelicans should probably be getting 7.5. But because they looked so good the other night, beating that Spurs team, you're like, everybody and their mother's like, oh, McCollum and Ingram are going to drive this team now. Mm-hmm. And I think McCollum will come back and score 22, 23.
See, here's the thing to me. Los Angeles has no offense. It's Paul George. Now, if Jackson, if any of them other guys can step up and do something, then they have a chance. So if you're New Orleans, you can let Paul George get 40. You can let him get 45. As long as those other guys don't do anything and that you got them locked down, then that team, that's how you stop their offense. So maybe their defense is, and maybe the under then for that's going to be the spot, because if they're locking them down, trying to stop that offense, I mean, it's going to take one hell of a defensive effort by LA then to do the same. And I don't trust LA in the. I mean, he said it, playoff P. I don't trust them at all. Like when playoff P shows up, they lose. You know.
Yeah, but LA is another one of those teams, though. Like Minnesota. I know you like Anthony Edwards. Look, I'm not mad at you. Anthony Edwards is fun to watch. He's probably the most exciting player off his feet in the NBA. Like when he dunks, I mean, Anthony Edwards is fantastic to watch. Okay. And I'm jumping the gun, but I'm going to use a comparison. The Grizzlies are going to absolutely smoke the Wolves. That's 7 points I don't care about. Minnesota's not the same team on the road. They're just not. And for all intents and purposes, if they weren't at home, if they weren't at home against the Clippers, what would happen in that game? The Clippers win by 10. And I think the Clippers are at home this time and probably win by 10. They beat the Pelicans by 10.
I give that Minnesota-Memphis game, I give Minnesota 1 at home. But back to this, what is it, the Pelicans-Clippers. Pelicans have no defenders on their team. As much as they have CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram to score the ball, they probably have the worst remaining defense that's like playing in the NBA right now. They're on the last 3 games, they're allowing opponents 124 points a game the last 3 games, whereas the Clippers are allowing only 98.3. Playing in LA again, that playoff atmosphere at home, there's just no comparison to any regular season game, even if it's like a primetime matchup or even a rivalry game. The playoff atmosphere is just another level in pretty much any stadium you'll go to, especially those big market cities. Regardless if it is a Lakers town, LA is going to show out, and it's just going to be a tough place to play in for sure. Brandon Ingram at most is past 5-6 games. He's barely scratching 20 points a game. CJ McCollum dropping 30 every game. That's going to be that's a very tough ask for someone as old as him, as late as he is in his career right now. I agree. I'm taking Clippers easily. Take the Clippers spread right now. I have them at -4 on this book, but if honestly it moves up to 5, I'll still take them the next day.
Yeah, because I feel like it's 7.5. Doesn't it feel like 7.5 and they beat them by 10 anyway?
Yeah.
And do you both agree the under for the 215 then?
It just feels like it. 215.5 is no man's land again. I actually think I think this game plays closer to 205.
I have to do a little bit more reading in terms of how they have been playing against each other, specifically. Just their under has been hitting as of late, but this is a team where there's such a difference in depth and talent within that depth that it's probably most likely going to be a double-digit loss, but is this going to be just someone just is torching another team, or if it's just someone's getting clamped and there is just business as usual on the other end? There have been games where it has gone where New Orleans has scored 120 points on the Clippers and vice versa within the last year and a half. So there is potential this is a make or miss league. And with just how the NBA is, especially in the Western Conference, they're just going to ride and die by the 3, especially if New Orleans goes down pretty decently with a decent margin early. And it's just going to either be back and forth or a blowout right away.
I love that term. It's a make or miss league. Yeah, I know. That's how you got here. You made them. It's not your term, but it's like every basketball, we're in a make or miss league. Yeah, I know. That's every league, actually.
It's just the whole league runs about at most 10 motions. I'm a fan of Gilbert Arenas' podcast and how he breaks this down. He talks about how offense has been evolving throughout the entirety of the NBA, and there's been schemes that have been developed within the past few years that have been made to attack schemes that have been consistently played for the last 60 to 70 years. And it's just the difference in the rate of how the techniques on the opposite ends of the court have developed throughout the course of the game. It's just been a lot harder to consistently play defense against such an elite skill set that all these players and offenses have been able to develop and bring together.
Yeah, because you can't put a hand on anybody anymore. Like you got 6'10" Kevin Durant running around. You can't put a hand on him.
Yeah, and you can't even fake like you're putting a hand on.
I mean, the game the other night.
Out and tossing for just acting like you're throwing an elbow now.
The game the other night, as long as a Hawk player hit the floor, he was going to the line. It could have been a block.
I mean, sometimes these referees affect the game and they affect that line because look at that. Just last night, that non-call on ball at the end of the game affected the over and under. So, I mean, referees have a big contingent in this, and we can't account for that, you know, because you don't ever know when they're going to make those kind of calls or whatever like that. But so look, the first round starts Saturday and Sunday, right? A lot of great games. A couple of them we don't know yet because those play-in ones or whatever. But there are two that we already know about that I really want to ask you two about because to me they're the best ones that we got. And I don't know if I'll shock you with one, but one of them to me is Philadelphia and the Raptors, right? I think that is such a much closer game than anybody's given it credit for. I think the Raptors are much better than they're getting credit for. Their length, their ability to rebound and do things on the defensive side, I think is just the opposite of what the Sixers need or can handle or what they like to even play against. Right now, the Raptors are plus 4.5 and plus 168. Obviously, minus 4.5 for Sixers and minus 185 with a 216 over and under. Now, I'll go with that one maybe because I have a feeling it's going to get a little messy maybe, so that 215. But do you not think the Raptors can cover this? Either one, go ahead.
Go lucky, start.
Honestly, I do not think so. I don't think there's an answer for Joel Embiid. Whether he gets MVP or not, I think he's going to be averaging 30 plus throughout the entire playoff. Who do you have on Toronto? Pascal, Scotty Barnes. You have Precious coming off the bench. You have tall, athletic defenders, and you have a team that plays with good chemistry, and you have players that can make shots at all levels of the floor. But at the end of the day, Philadelphia, they're going to have – this is another potential sweep in my book. In a game of matchups, there's just no matchup for someone who is the biggest mismatch on the court. And James Harden, whether he shoots well or not, he will be getting to the line. And it's just –
see, now I don't know about that because every playoff that's been his problem is that he gets to the line all year long. And then every time they get to the playoffs, they don't give him those calls no more. And he has a problem with that. Like he does the old this all the time. Then he gets upset and then he doesn't play no more because he's getting, I mean, he's another one of those ones that when it comes to playoffs, man, I wouldn't put $1 on him because he just doesn't showing up for me to do that. You know what I mean? Like, now I agree that Joel Embiid is going to be a problem, but at the same time, I believe if you look over these last half since the All-Star break, I believe it's been, the Raptors are one of the best rebounding teams, both offensively and defensively. And so I think they're going to be able to handle themselves in this game as far as that goes. You're probably right. Joel probably goes off, probably gets his points. I think Seth Curry is going to be an important part for Philadelphia. I believe the fact that Philadelphia is losing one of their main guys who can't play in Toronto is going to have an effect on them as well. I just see this as being one of those surprise ones myself, and I don't know about game one because it is in Philadelphia and you do have all that hype. So I'm with you there. They probably cover this game easy or not easy. I don't think any of it's going to be easy, but I think they will cover that. But the series in a whole, if Philadelphia wins, it's going to be a long series. So
I think it's
see it this week, but
we could both be right? So Paul, you could be right. Toronto walks into the locker room feeling good in Philadelphia because they're up in the first half. Okay, everybody's taking their empty water bottles, they're chucking them at the TV. They're burning the city down in halftime. Let's face it, right? It's it's a beautiful city that everyone hates. Okay, but and that's because James Harden is going to be your main scorer in the first half, and it doesn't work. Okay, James Harden's not going to be he can't be your primary guy. Okay, then they're going to go down low and they're going to wear them down, and it's going to be the Joel Embiid show in the second half of the game. Philly covers. Philly's going to win this game by 7, and no one's going to know how it happened. Everybody's going to be super upset and drunk and blacked out in Philly, and they're going to figure out that they won anyway. That's how I feel. I just feel like the Raptors are going to come out and give them hell, and Philadelphia at the end of the day does, like Lockstar said, they just have more talent. There's not going to – Pascal's fine. He's a 20 to 23, 24-point player. I mean, but he can't dominate quarters like Embiid can. And the 4.5 feels like it should be higher. Feels like it should be 7.5 again. And
7.
Huh?
I would say 6 to 7.
Yeah, that 6 to 7. And you know what? They might be moving the lines as we're talking. They should be, because the Raptors play tough, but they're much better at home. Like, that's really what they just gave you was a home line.
Yeah. And here's another thing too. With the playoffs, it's much different than a regular season game in terms of if something works, they're going to do it every single time until it doesn't. So if Joel posts down Pascal Siakam, turns around for post hook, pump fake, 2-hand layup, they're going to do that every single time, even if he gets fouled, until he shoots it and misses it. And then they're going to pass it out to, which is the first time in his career, number 2 option, James Harden. And also for the first time in his career, has someone to pass it to in the paint. So he doesn't have to go 1 for 13 in Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals from 3 alone. And that alone gives James Harden, 1, less pressure throughout the series and throughout the playoffs to be able to rely on someone like that. Someone who maybe in the past has gone through injury issues, but this season has proven to be the most dominant player on the court besides, well, in Eastern Conference specifically, besides Giannis, and on the Western Conference, Jokic, the other MVP candidates. So I just give the Raptors, who are just not there yet as a unit, I just give them no chance.
Well, that's interesting though. I mean, I like how you guys are putting that. I do want to get to one more game though, so we'll move on from there and give you guys both the Sixers, right? You both sound like that's just a wrap, right? Sixers wrapped it in.
I will take the under on this one though.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like the under as well. I think it plays to mid 200s.
Yeah, I don't see the Raptors breaking triple digits.
No, because you got to see. I mean, to get over the 210 hump, I mean, the Raptors are going to have to score, and the Raptors are not going to want to score with this team.
All right, I like that, because once again, I'm going to go different here. I'm going with the. Oh, actually, no, wait. I was thinking about the series, but for this game, yeah, I'm going with you guys. It's the Sixers, and man, I don't know about the over and under myself. I think I'm going to hold off on that, because if Toronto starts to score, if they're in one of those modes, this game could get a little higher, because Philly can score, and Philly can run and score with whoever wants to run and score with them. So it could get higher right there. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and stay away from that over and under myself. But the next one I want to get before we go off on anything is the Nets and the Celtics, because to me, I peg that as the best first round matchup right there. If you're the Celtics, to me, I'm mad. I mean, in the first round playoff game, you should get somebody that you get to kind of sell through or whatever. Get that playoff wet. You're going straight to the Nets. Boom. So that's what I peg as the best first round matchup. We have the Nets at plus 4.5, over and under 224. Jack, tell me how you see this one.
So I guess the first question is Kyrie playing? I mean, is he going to play?
Yes.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Definitely playing. I mean,
There's no Ben Simmons, obviously. Boston, no Robert Williams.
Right.
well, if Ben Simmons plays, I'll take Boston all day.
No, he's not playing. They said he could come back in game 4, 5, or 6.
I mean, the line's curious, right? Can we say that? Let's start there. Yeah. What are you saying, Lockstar?
Very skeptical about this one.
It's curious, right? Because you're sitting there going, why are the Celtics minus 4.5? I can't figure it out. I really can't. And I looked at it and I was like, I actually liked it if Boston was getting 4.5. That's my thought.
Go ahead, Lock.
Boston has won the last 3 head-to-heads straight up. They also have, in those 3 wins, they've covered 2 of those 3, pushing the last one. Over has hit every single time in those last 3 as well. All coming within this calendar year, starting from February and going into March. So they played 3 times in a month. And
I mean, doesn't Tatum have to go for 40 though? Like he does against them? I mean, he's got to go for 40.
But he can. And that's the thing with him is like he really can. And the surprise to me is Brown. The fact that he's been matching that, and usually it's one or the other. One will get it, the other one won't. Sometimes they get it. And I always was like, it's because they play the same game, they play the same thing. But lately they've kicked it. They both are doing it. And I just want to ask you this though, real quick. Are they not the most complete team right now next to Milwaukee? I mean, they seem to be just a complete team, Boston. They can play defense. They got a guy who can guard your best guy. They got 2 guys who can score anytime they want to. If they get Williams back, they got a solid man in the middle. And I guess I think he's up to questionable now or something. So he may get back in the series too. But are they not one of the most complete teams though, Boston?
they definitely are. Playing some of the best defense in the league. Brooklyn needs to have guys step up. Bruce Brown has been playing really, really well recently. And
they don't play no defense.
Matchup-wise, you do have the better defenders in Boston. But just Katie and Kyrie can combine for 80 at any given night. And this definitely could be a 7-game series.
Yeah, I see it as being just the toughest. I think it gives us a game each game. They'll give us what we want to see. I think it's going to be that kind of a thing. I don't think you're going to see nobody get wiped out when KD gets going in the playoffs. Like I don't think you're gonna kill him. And now he's got his man with him. And I mean, again, I don't think the Nets play much defense at all. We've seen that already. I mean, they barely getting out of these playing games with what they've scored and what they've won on. So.
So here's what we said, right? Here's how we started, or this is how I started. It feels like the Brooklyn Nets should be minus 4.5, even at Boston. I understand the defense and all this other stuff, but again, you've got 2 guys that can literally take over games in Brooklyn. I think that if you're going to bet this game, because I think you're going to get great value on it. I think Lockstar would actually agree with me. Take Brooklyn on the money line. Because that's how it feels. It feels like you take Brooklyn on the money line and they win by 1 or 2.
Wait, let's see. Go ahead.
Just not to mention you have 2 NBA champions and a Finals MVP starting for your team.
And that's when you take a fair value money line. So you're going to get them at like what, plus 125, something like that.
Yes, 185.
Plus 185.
Plus 185 right now.
I mean, that's one where you lay it, right?
Yeah.
And Boston, listen, you think it's going 7 games, right, Paul? Well, if it goes 7 games, I got to take a game from a team at home. How about the first one? And then the next game, the Boston Celtics come back and they tie the series at 1. How does it feel now? It feels like that's the way this is going to play.
Yep. Go ahead, Locke.
Definitely agree with that. You just have so many vets combined with great shooters. Patty Mills, Seth Curry. You have great basketball IQs of Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Goran Dragic coming, facilitating off the bench. You have athletic bigs, Blake Griffin, Nick Claxton, LaMarcus Aldridge available.
I like him.
There's just a lot of great basketball minds that are going to be playing on that basketball court.
I'm a Patty Mills fan too.
Yeah, was there like 5, 6 Olympians playing in this matchup?
Yeah.
Boston side, Jason Tatum, who's trying to claim the Eastern Conference, was KD, and other vets eventually fade away. Him and Giannis are battling for Eastern Conference championships in the next 4 or 5 years.
Let's look at things this way. We'll just compare games. Okay. How much better is Boston and Philly's probably about evenly matched as ball clubs. Okay. The Raptors are getting just as many points as the Brooklyn Nets are. Well, not on this planet. Not on this planet ever. I'm just, if all things are equal, the Brooklyn Nets are equal to the Toronto Raptors. That's what they're telling you. There's no way. There's no way ever. So I don't even want the points. Take the plus 185 and then go open up another mortgage on your house because it's easy. When you sit back and think about it, when you start diving everything up, if I just put the players on if I just put players, Gordon Dragic is walking 20 points if he gets hot. That's off the bench. I don't know who's Boston has coming off their bench, but it doesn't put Kevin Pritchard. I don't care.
I just thought of something as you guys were talking though. I said something about Seth Curry, and I think I was putting him on the Sixers a while ago, and I meant on the Nets because look, as what you were saying, Locke, they do have so many people that they can use now, so many people who can score, and again. I'm market right now. Patty Mills will have a difference in this series. Okay, he has that ability, and when these playoffs come like this, he's going to give him something along that way that makes him worth why he's there. I'm just a big fan, and you said Olympians. He's an Olympian himself too.
By the way, Locke, here's one of those ones too.
Believe.
Here's one of those ones too that like, okay, let's say you take the Nets plus 185. Do you even feel bad if you take that bet and lose it? Like I know we want to hit all of our bets. That's our goal. Our goal is to be 100% of the time, all the time, right? And just live off of betting. But if you took that bet, it's a good bet. Some of them are just good bets. And you're like, you know what? I would take that again. I would take the Brooklyn Nets plus 185 in the Boston Garden with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving 10 days of the week. You just would. Yeah, I'm not worried about the spread.
So
this is where we talk
Celtics,
about.
Right? You're going Celtics in the points, or are you going money line?
I'm going money line on Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You too?
Yes.
All right, I'm locking them
It just
down.
feels like it. Am I convinced? I'm not trying to even be convincing, but the first thing I said was Boston should be getting 4.5. Or maybe this should be the Cavs-Hawks line, 2.5. No more than that. And if I lose my money line bet on a Tatum jumper at the end of the game, or if I don't even care. I do a little, but I don't care.
I guess next week, man, we're gonna have something that you guys can either rub in my face, or I get to go yours because I'm going the opposite way again. I'm going with the Celtics, and I'm going the money line with the Celtics. And I just think at home they're a complete team. I'm not trusting the Nets yet. I agree with everything you said though, Locke, about them. I mean, hands down. Again, I told you this is that up in the best series thing, so it could go that way for sure. I'm just going to stick with the defense, what they have going. And I also realize that the Celtics seem to crap out every year when they get to the playoffs too. But I got faith in them this time, so I'm going to go with them on that one and go opposite again.
Well, but it's just for me, it's just the bets. So like, I'm not getting value betting on the Celtics at home, really. because these teams are basically evenly matched. But you're giving, for every dollar I bet, you're giving me $1.85. That's right, right, Lockstar?
Yeah.
You're giving me $1.85 for every dollar I bet on a Brooklyn Nets team that has two of the top 75 players of all time.
I hear you.
I mean,
I hear
listen,
you.
I'm
You're right.
taking Kyrie Irving or Jaylen Brown to take over a game. You call it, because they'll even Celtics fans will go, man, Kyrie probably, yeah. And I just think if it's
too, how fun is that going to be when he goes off? Kyrie goes off for 45, and every time he hits one, he's looking at the crowd.
Well, that's it. Well, Kyrie's all about revenge too, right? He chose Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He was sent to Boston. That's also very interesting, right? So he's going to go up there and he's able to play.
Maybe I just got hit in the head. Did I say the Celtics? I meant the Nets, didn't I? That's what I meant to say.
I changed
something got me, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant the Net. No, I'm going to stick with the Celtics, though. I'm going with that. So, well, I mean, that's it, guys, for this week right now, man. I think that's a lot for everybody to digest. Go ahead, Locke. You got something?
I just wanted to say, man, Boston just has had a tough few years in the playoffs. Just absolute victims of circumstance.
Right?
Really had to play. Like, starting from just that 7-game series against Cleveland, then just losing to champion after champion, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's just, will the growing pains ever stop for this team?
No, not according to you guys. You saying they're going to continue.
Well, how about this? How does this feel then? Right? Okay, so I'm saying Brooklyn in the first game, but I'll say Boston wins the series. Okay. I think Boston's a very good basketball team, and I think losing the first game actually helps them. I think the best player that we haven't mentioned for either team would be Marcus Smart. I mean, that dude is an absolute pit bull.
We're gonna find out, because he's gonna be all with Kyrie the whole time. That's gonna.
Well, he plays better angrier though.
Yeah.
When they lose game one.
I agree. I think that Bruce Brown gives that same spark for Brooklyn.
He's the same spark.
I don't know about the same, but he does.
20 to 26 points, just from second chance and great off-ball movement.
That's true. If he shows up like he's been doing, he can have a massive effect on this series.
I
mean, I know we're not talking MMA, but I think I'll take Marcus Smart over Bruce Brown in a back alley.
I might have.
Marcus Smart is like Grayson Allen gets very bad. He's got a bad reputation, but Marcus Smart gets, people love him for it. Like Marcus Smart will kill you. I mean, Marcus Smart's he's probably at a nail tech somewhere, making sure they're extra long so he can scratch people. He's crazy.
Someone else on that team who's not talked about enough is Grant Williams. Robert Williams has kind of been getting a lot of shine, but Grant Williams also gives me big PJ Tucker vibes. Someone who can just sit in the corner and just be ready to pull the trigger, but also someone that can scrap on the defensive end, inside and outside the paint, regardless if he's going to pick up the foul or not. He's just going to through.
So basically,
volunteers very well off the bench.
Just nailing my point down, right? Celtics, got you. All right.
In seven, Celtics. I agree I'm with you, but not game one. Game one, I want that fair value money line. And I tell you what, go get that line too, because it's going to plus 145, right, Locke?
It's could probably go down to 130, 125.
So get it. Grab it now.
If ESPN keeps pumping this stuff up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Yeah.
I see the public just starting to hop on Brooklyn throughout.
Hey, there's no manipulation involved. What are you talking about? ESPN manipulating something? Come on.
But because you guys said Boston 7, I'm going to take Brooklyn in 7. Katie's foot's behind the line this time.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. And that's the best part of this one, is it could go either way too. That's what makes the best first round series that there is in the CSI. So right on, everybody, man. This was great fun. We would definitely do it again, because man, this stuff, the NBA don't end until what, June something before the finals come. So that just gives us more time to make more money and keep doing it right, like we know how. Everybody, please come back to everydayfan.com. You got Lockstar giving us his picks right there for you to look. Jack does when he can. If not, you're going to see him on Twitter. Shot of Jack Neary. Stay with us, guys, because that's what we like to do, man. We're going to watch these games and we're going to make a little money while we do it. So thank you both for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And next time, maybe we're going to we'll bring in a couple more, and we'll see if we can all get into a good battle, huh?
Guys, you take these picks to be able to buy good-looking shirts like this.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna run right out. I know Locke is too.
Where'd you get that? Dan Flashes?
All right, guys, man. We will see you guys later.
Take it easy.